This week, the HPT continues the Gold Rush series here in California at the Club One Casino in Fresno, California. This card casino, located in California's Central Valley, is second to none on the fun scale and also turns out some pretty doggone good poker players. The Elite Nine is ready to battle for the HPT Championship and over $75,000 that goes with it. This week's final table also has some familiar faces to the HPT. Among them is Stan Jablonski, who is making his fourth final table, and Trey Nguyen, who took second at this event last time we were at the Club One Casino. So he is looking for redemption along with the coveted HPT Championship and over $75,000. Let's play some poker.
This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face, you with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game, talk trash all you want. To me it's all the same, you won't leave with much when you come in second place. And I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack. Gonna cry to your mama cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello and welcome again to the HPT. This week we're coming to you from the heart of California's Central Valley, the Club One Casino here in Fresno. I'm Fred Bevel. The poker professional to my left is Maria Ho. And Maria, this is only our second trip to the Club One Casino, but for our crew and the players that traveled in, it was like a homecoming. The people here are really great.
The staff has been really awesome, and the cash games are just as friendly as they are juicy. And once again, the main event generated a prize pool of over $300,000. Now, as we speak, the final 9 from this field are settling into their seats at our televised final table to do battle for the championship.
The headlining names at this week's final table are Stan Jablonski, Trey Nguyen, and William Chow. Trey took second at this event last time we were here at Club One. William made our final table at Thunder Valley last season with a 4th place finish. And then there's Stan Jablonski. Stan is making his 4th final table, and this event marks his 11th cash.
There's definitely a lot of familiar faces at this final table, but I don't think we should underestimate some of these new faces.
A lot of poker yet to be played before we get down to a champion. Let's take a look at the money on the line, the starting chip counts, then get right to the action.
Our winner's going to get to take home $75,000 and change. Second place, not bad either, just over $46,000. And all 9 of the players that made this final table is going to go home with at least $8,207.
Big money on the line. Here are the starting chip counts as we get underway at this final table.
There's a tight race at the top coming into the final table, but William Chow is the chip leader. He has over $1 million, but as you can see, Daniel Evans, Joe Wen, and Trip Wen all have over $1 million in their stack.
Blinds getting started at this final table at $8,000 and $16,000 with a $2,000 chip ante as the first hand of the final table is dealt out. And action in this first hand, we'll start with Sue Kim, an employee here at the Club One Casino. We've gotten to know her really well. She's going to fold. Now we're over to Trey Nguyen, a familiar face at HPT final tables. Actually took second place last time we were here in Fresno.
Trey raises to $40,000 with 9 deuce suited. And if memory serves me right, I do believe from the last final table, Trey was a very aggressive player. As you can see, he's starting things off here with a bang.
Action is folded around to the other win at this table. This is Joe Wynn from Sunnyvale, California. Has over $800,000 listed as his career earnings, and he is going to 3-bet with his pocket 9s, Maria.
I don't know if I like that play so much. I think that pocket 9s is a hand when you're as deep as they are to just flat with. But, you know, I think maybe when you have a lot of history with your opponent, and these two players probably do, you kind of know what spots to take as 3-bets versus flatting. So you never know what the reason is.
Action now is folded around to Reddy in the 2 seat. He's from Dublin, California. He's got King Queen.
King Queen of Hearts is the kind of hand where you want to see a flop with, but you know that it's 3 bets to you. Do you want to call 3 bets cold here? And he thinks better of it and folds.
And now we move over to Tanya Kirk, originally from Atlanta, Georgia, now living in San Jose. She has $60,000 in career earnings. And she is going to fold. So now action back to Tret, who originally raised with just 9 deuce of diamonds.
I think given the fact that this is the first hand of the final table, there's no real reason to peel this 3-bet. 9 deuce suited doesn't even play that well. It's quite a big gap between those two cards. You don't really have many straight possibilities. But you know what? He wasn't even thinking about peeling. Trit decides to 4-bet to 283,000. Now I have to say, I mean, these players must have some kind of dynamic between the two of them, because this is just kind of a crazy way to start things off here. But I guess Trit doesn't believe Joe has anything, and now Joe's kind of in a tough spot, because regardless of what kind of dynamic you may have with someone, 9s shrink up quite a bit here.
Tret is playing the player and not his cards, and Joe is going to flat the 4-bet here.
And you could see this pot is huge now. This pot is 648,000. Both players had just over $1 million to start this hand with, so this is a really, really big pot to be playing with their holding.
So heads up we go. Tret on a stone cold bluff right now. The flop is queen, deuce, 6 with a couple of clubs.
Now Trit knows he's going to have to c-bet here, and unfortunately that 1 overcard might just scare Joe off, but let's see if he has the fortitude to call one here.
300,000 is the test to Joe win.
And I feel like if you're willing to peel Trit's 4-bet there with 9s, you have to be willing to still call bets even if you don't hit a set, because if you're calling a 4-bet with 9s, you're essentially putting Trit on almost pure bluffs. But
the continuation bet after 4-betting pre-flop is enough for Tret to take this hand down, and he's going to get Joe to lay down the better hand. What a start to this final table. More action from the Club One Casino when we come back. Welcome back to the HPT from Fresno, California. We're at the Club One Casino. We have a fun final table. Let's get right to the action.
And after that big pot, Trit Nguyen has moved into the chip lead position here. He has over 1.3 million. Daniel Evans and William Chow still fairly close behind him. Reddy Tondaru, as you can see, with just 58,000, has 4 big blinds. He's got a whole lot of work to do.
Blinds continuing at 8 and 16,000 as we look on at Soo Kim's fan base. I mentioned earlier, Soo Kim works here at the Club One Casino, so she's got a full rail of supporters. Looks like action's going to start with Joe Nguyen. He's going to fold. Now we're over to Jed Hoffman. And now William Chow. Flat cards going around the table until we look down at Reddy's hand. He's got ace-10 offsuit, and that's good enough for his 4 big blinds, Maria. He's all in.
It's a great hand for his stack. He's definitely going to get action, probably from the blinds at least.
Soo Kim is going to fold. Trait lays it down. This is Stan Jablonski. Stan, a good friend on the HPT. This is his 4th final table in this event. He made his 11th cash. And Maria, you might have seen Stan around the hallways of the WPT or the World Series. He plays a lot of the big events.
Yeah, I do see Stan around quite a bit, and he's a very nice guy. Good to see him here. Daniel calls from the big blind with King 4 offsuit. Pretty much the big blind is going to have to call with his entire range there. If you think about the small blind and the big blind and all the antes, you're almost always going to get 2-1 on your call. Can't be that much of a dog against a 4 big blind shoving stack.
Daniel is behind, but 2 live cards. So Reddy's tournament life on the line here.
The flop is queen 6 deuce, couple of hearts. Reddy is still in the lead, and he also has the bigger heart in his hand.
Reddy needs to fade 2 more streets to stay alive, and more than double up when you count the antes.
The turn is the 8 of clubs, still good for Reddy. He is just looking to fade the king or the 4 on the river, and he's going to double up and hopefully try to mount a comeback here.
The river is the 10, and that is going to give Reddy the winning hand. So Maria, the recipe to a comeback, double up, check.
It's definitely a start. He's still got a long way to go, but it's always a good feeling to double up at a final table.
Blinds remain at 8 and 16,000 with a 2,000 chip ante. And it looks like action in this hand will start with Trait Nguyen. As I mentioned, Trait took second at this final table last time we were here at Club 1, so only one more spot for improvement for Trait. Jablonski's going to fold, as does Daniel Evans. So over to Joe Nguyen now. He's going to lay it down. Chad Hoffman's going to take a look. He says, no thank you. So now William Chow again. Suited ace-6. Maria, it's folded around to you. Got a suited ace in the cutoff. What do you think?
Absolutely should be opening this from the cutoff. He is going to do that, and he makes it 37,000 to go.
A little more than 2x.
And Reddy looks down at ace-10. It's definitely a good enough hand to go with 7 big blinds against a cutoff raise. You've got to put your chips in there.
Instead, he puts the cards in there. He's going to lay this down. Perhaps Williams' bet right before him made ace-10 shrink up.
But I feel like given the positions and his stack size, there's just no way you can't go with that hand there.
Tanya is going to call Williams' raise from the small blind. Sue's going to quickly fold her big blind.
And I don't really love this play from Tanya either. She has 12 big blinds and 5s in the small blind. You really just have to move your stack in.
The flop is 3 queen 4 with a couple of hearts. So Tanya still has the best hand with pocket 5s. But I suspect William is going to put her to the test here. Tanya checks.
And I hope Tanya doesn't plan on check folding here, because that's the problem with putting in 3 of your 12 big blinds pre-flop only to fold. So,
well, she is going to check raise all in. So she must feel pretty confident she's got the best hand here.
well, I don't mind that, although I do think the most optimal play would have been for her to shove pre-flop. And now William, he has ace high. It's 113,000 for him to call, 297,000 in the pot. He's getting more than 2-1. If he puts Tanya on the kind of hand she has, or maybe a flush draw, William should be making this call here. But if he thinks his overcards are live, or maybe that his ace high is even good.
Well, William crunches the numbers in his head, and it's not good enough for him to call, so Tanya now is going to scoop a much-needed pot. So in back-to-back hands, Reddy doubles up, and now Tanya, the other short stack of this final table, is going to scoop a raised pot. More poker from the Club One Casino here in Fresno, California, when the HPT returns. Thanks for coming back to the HPT from the Club One Casino here in Fresno, California. Let's get right back to the action.
Trait Nguyen trying to slowly pull away from the pack. He's increased his lead a little bit, now up to 1.4 million. Daniel Evans is the only other player with over 1 million. And Tanya is somewhat short with 18 big blinds, but not as short as Reddy, who has 6 big blinds now.
Reddy hoping to get on a heater here at this final table to stay alive. Blind still at 8 and 16,000 with a 2,000 chip ante. Joe Nguyen first to act. He's going to look down at King 10 offsuit. Maria, to me, this is one of those hands that are really pretty, but you want to avoid, especially early position.
To be honest, I don't love opening under the gun with King 10 at a 9-handed table. I think that's a little bit too wide, although this table has been playing somewhat passively, so maybe that's what's giving Joe the license to do this, but usually I would advise against it.
Well, the action has folded all the way back around to the blinds. Stan Jablonski is going to fold his small blind, and it looks like Daniel Evans from the big blind is going to call. And Daniel, by the way, wins the Best Dressed Award at this final table. He's wearing a onesie.
The flop is Jack, Jack, Queen. Daniel has flopped trips on this board.
And Joe has flopped an open-ended straight draw, and it looks like both players are going to slow play these hands. The turn is the 7 of clubs. Daniel once again going to check his trip jacks.
And now Joe decides to make a delayed C bet on a semi-bluff here with an open-ended straight draw. That's 42,000. A delayed c-bet is when you are the pre-flop aggressor, but you don't choose to c-bet on the flop. Instead, you choose to c-bet on the turn.
And Daniel is just going to call here with his trip, so he's trying to give Joe a little more rope.
The river's the 2 of spades, and although that does complete the flush draw from the flop, I think Daniel should feel pretty safe that Joe doesn't have the flush here, because if he did, he probably would have bet the flop with a flush draw.
Joe is going to bluff the river. It makes it 100,000.
But on the other hand, I don't really see any point in Daniel raising here either, so he is just going to call.
And Daniel's going to table the winning hand and scoop just under 400,000 in that pot. You know, with blinds still relatively low at 8 and 16,000, a 400,000 chip pot is huge. He is wearing a suit and tie onesie, which makes him my hero.
You can tell that these players have played against each other before. We've seen some crazy plays being made, and some of them have worked. So come back for more of that action.
Welcome back to the HPT, coming to you from Fresno, California, and the Club One Casino. Now, if you think you've got what it takes to sit at our final table, give it a shot. Our complete schedule for 2014 is online at hptpoker.com. Now let's get back to the final table action. We'll send it over to Freddie and Maria.
Trent Wen not relinquishing that top spot with 1.4 million. Daniel and William both have over $1 million as well. Joe Wen has had a big fall from grace here. He started out the final table as a top 3 chip stack. Now he's only got 371,000, which is only about 20 big blinds.
Blinds are 10 and 20,000 with a 3,000 chip ante. And action will begin with Tanya Kirk. She's going to fold. Now over to Sue Kim.
Sue looks down at pocket eights and about 35 big blinds. She should definitely come in for a raise here.
And she is staging the chips. And a raise is made. She's going to jack it up to 60,000. Trate quickly folds. We're over to Jablonski. He's going to fold. Daniel and his onesie are going to fold. So does Joe. Now it's Jed Hoffman's decision. He's going to sit this out. Now back to William Chow. These players respecting Sue's raise. Reddy looks down at Jack King.
And I think Reddy's just going to have to go with his hand with 4 big blinds. He passed up a really good opportunity earlier with ace 10. But now, you know, you got 1 big blind in there. Sue did raise from fairly early position, but you just got to put in the rest of your chips and hope you're live.
Yeah, Reddy's stack really doesn't have much poker play in it. It's pick a hand and go kind of poker for him right now.
And he's taking it so long. I'm so nervous that he's actually going to fold this hand. I just think that he's not going to get many better opportunities than his ace 10 or his king jack right now, and he's got to take it.
Reddy plans to use whatever prize money he wins today to give to his family as a gift. Reddy has over 40,000 in career winnings. Well, Reddy is not going to put his stack in, Maria. He's just going to call Sue Kim's raise. Maria would have elected to put all the chips in the middle. Can't blame her. The flop is 7 ace 3 rainbow. So he put in a big blind, and then he didn't connect. But, you know, with his stack, Sue was not going to be folding pocket eights either way. Reddy's not going to make a play for the pot. He's going to check it over to Sue.
And, of course, Sue's going to put him in here.
And Sue eyeing Reddy's stack, and she bets enough to put Reddy all in if he calls.
And the fact that Reddy is even thinking about this just really boggles my mind. This is exactly why you should just put all your chips in pre-flop, because if you're actually thinking about putting in half of your stack, more than half of your stack pre, to fold on the flop, it just seems crazy.
Well, he does reluctantly make the call. He knows he's behind, but he does have 2 overcards to Sue's pocket eights with 2 streets yet to go. So Reddy at risk, but not out the door yet.
he's going to need a king or a jack in order to double up here.
Reddy hoping for a little luck on the turn, which is a queen. That does give him some more outs. Now he's got a 10 for a Broadway straight, or a king or a jack for a better pair. The all-important river card.
River's the ace, and that is not going to do it for Reddy. He is going to be eliminated in 9th place. I'm sure all of the people at the table are happy to see that they're going to ladder a little bit in the pay jumps.
And you can see the signs pop up for Soo Kim, Team Tsunami on the rail rooting her on as Reddy shakes the hands of his competitors and wishes them luck. He's going to go home with a little over $8,000 for his impressive run this weekend.
How long he grinded, I'm surprised he didn't get a couple of pay bumps.
And now action continues at this final table, 8-handed. Blinds are still 10 and 20,000 with a 3,000 chip ante. And action in this hand, we'll start with Trade. He's going to fold. Now we're on Stan Jablonski. He also lays it down. Daniel Evans and his jammies look down at pocket jacks.
He makes it 44,000 to go.
And now we move over to Joe. He is going to fold. And now Jed Hoffman. Jed has yet to play a hand at this final table. The poor guy has just been card dead. Williams going to fold behind him. Now Tanya Kirk is on the decision. She says no. Now back over to Soo Kim. I haven't seen Sue's whole cam, but she is reaching for chips.
And Sue decides to defend from the blind with ace-10 offsuit.
Heads up to the flop we go between Daniel and Sue.
And the flop is 9 deuce deuce, couple of hearts. No improvement for Sue, but she does have ace high. That might look good to her right now, but Daniel does have the overpair to the board.
Sue playing the rest of this hand out of position, not a spot you generally want to be in.
And Sue looks like she's getting ready to make a donk bet, which doesn't mean that you're a donkey or you're playing like one necessarily. It's just the way that poker players refer to somebody who leads into the pre-flop aggressor after the flop.
So Daniel's pocket jacks now facing a $60,000 bet, and he's just going to call.
And I think maybe Sue did that because she feels like she has the best hand, and she was kind of trying to make a defensive bet. She didn't really want Daniel to catch up somehow on the turn by, you know, seeing a free card. So she decided to lead out, but I just don't really ever like that play. I like check calling there if you think your ace high is good a lot more.
The turn is the queen of spades, so no improvement for Sue's hand. Daniel's still the best with the pocket jacks. And Sue is not slowing down at all. She's going to fire 100,000 now.
And I think Daniel is just going to call again, because when you do lead out on a flop like that, it's kind of hard for your opponent to give you trip deuces, because you would think that somebody would be slow playing that and not leading into you. So it's kind of easy to either put her on a flush draw or, you know, just a bluff.
The river is the 10 of hearts, so Sue does make a pair, but it's not better than Daniel's jacks. Perhaps that third heart might scare Daniel a little bit.
Well, that's actually a really good card, because Sue might try to bet her tens and deuces here for value, but Daniel might read into that as her completing the flush. So depending on her bet size, she might get Daniel to fold, but with just 100,000, Daniel's going to call.
Daniel makes the quick call and tables the best hand. Maria, Sue's hand caught in the cookie jar a little bit here.
I think her problem in this hand was that she wasn't really sure if she was betting for value or betting as a bluff. But I think maybe if she bet a little bit bigger, she could have gotten him to fold, but now we'll never know.
Time now for A Poker Life featuring legendary player Doyle Brunson, brought to us by our friends at Ace Play Poker. Now, everybody knows the history of Doyle Brunson. The man has literally seen everything, but he also knew people in a different way. Benny Binion, if you read the books, he was kind of a gangster, but Doyle knew him as a businessman.
Benny was very, did things original, like he started the high limit, started giving drinks away. No casino had ever done that. he put food on the menu that he lost money on. They had a $2 steak there at Binion's for years. The steak itself cost more than that, and besides the salad and the baked potato and the labor and so forth, but it drew the people. And he was just a master craftsman at pleasing the customer. He said, give them what they want, give them a good gamble, good food and free drinks, and you'll have the business. And he was right, and his son Jack followed right in his footsteps.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brunson, and thanks again to our friends at Ace Play Poker. More exciting action as we play down to a champion right here on the HPT from the Club One Casino. We'll be right back. Thanks for coming back to the HPT. I'm Fred Bevel. This is poker professional Maria Ho. I hope you're taking notes during her commentary. A lot of teaching moments. Let's get right back to the final table.
Daniel Evans is now our new chip leader with over 1.4 million. Jed Hoffman has increased his chip stack as well, moving into the second spot. William and Tripp both fairly comfortable with 1.2 million. And as you could see, there's a huge drop off for the last 4 spots, all of them with under 16 big blinds.
Yeah. Right on the border, isn't it? Right on the border between, they have like a big bike.
And action in this hand will start with Trey Nguyen. Took second place last time we were here at the Club One Casino in Fresno. This event quickly, almost immediately, an instant fan and crew favorite on the HPT Tour. These people are a lot of fun. The food here is great. The poker action is second to none. Jed Hoffman again folds, still card dead.
I saw that. It was crazy because there was footage and there was all the stabbing and everything. Just bullets flying right. It was like a casino.
We're now over to William Chow, who makes it 60,000 with a suited ace, and Tanya right behind him is going to go all in.
Tanya decides to ship in her 16 big blind stack here with Jack 8 suited, and I like that because William raised from the button. It doesn't mean he has a really good hand, and she has plenty of fold equity with her stack size. And even if she does get called, Jack 8 suited plays pretty well against hands that are going to call you in that spot. So it's really just up to William what kind of range Tanya thinks she's shoving with.
William is going to make the call with his baby ace, and Tanya's going to see that she's behind but live. She doesn't want to see spades, though.
Yeah, I think she's a little bit upset that William has her dominated in her suit, but Tanya still does have the Jack or the 8 to stay alive.
820,000 in this pot, so a huge swing pot here. Tanya hoping to stay alive at this final table. The flop is King Ace 5.
And that all but does it for Tanya. She's going to need some running straight outs or running 2-pair trip outs.
So hanging on by a thread as we go to the turn, and that thread just broke. The ace of diamonds falls on the turn, and Tanya will be drawing dead and be our 8th place finisher.
The river is the meaningless Jack, and it's just unfortunate for Tanya. She picked what looked like a good spot to shove, but unfortunately she was dominated in this hand, and she will become our 8th place finisher.
And she's leaving with applause and a smile on her face, as you should when you leave an HPT final table. She'll be going home with a little under $10,000 for her efforts this weekend. Congratulations. Blinds remain at 12 and 24,000 with a 3,000 chip ante. Joe Nguyen is under the gun. He's going to fold. Over to Jed Hoffman. Poor guy hasn't had much to play, and he's going to continue to fold.
And I feel like Jed just had a weak ace there, but, you know, you really haven't been playing much. They're probably going to respect how tight you've been, and you really just have to get something going. I know that sometimes when you don't have cards and you're at a final table, you don't really want to get involved, but Jed has a good stack here, and he really shouldn't just let that dwindle away. He should try to be aggressive with his chip stack instead of sitting back so much.
Action folding around to the button of Trey Nguyen, who's going to raise it up with 4 deuce offsuit to 65,000. So now we move over to Stan Jablonski.
And Trit and Jed are just basically on opposite ends of the spectrum here. As you could see, Trit not afraid to open the button with 4 deuce off. Stan, though, is going to move all in with pocket vibes and a 13 big blind stack, which is definitely more than standard. And, I mean, Trit's got to be posturing here. There's no way he's going to call it off with 4 deuce. That's very gambly. I don't care if you think you're live or not. There's just no reason to double up the person to your left who's a good player. But you know what? What do I know?
Trait, for some reason, finds the word call against Stan's all-in with 4 deuce offsuit. So he's going to let luck be his fate in this hand, as the pot has swelled to over 650,000. Stan hoping to avoid bad luck and double up and get right back in this match.
Trit's got 2 unders to pocket fives here, which is something that Stan didn't think he would see, but he does. He's in really good shape to double up here.
The flop is King, Queen, 7 with a couple of spades, so
Give you a little sweat there.
Trait is all but drawing dead here.
But the turn is the deuce. He's got a little bit of hope. If he rivers a deuce or a 4, he will knock out Stan.
That would be one of the dirtiest things I would ever see at a poker table if that river is a deuce or a 4. Pocket fives go to the flop dominating and end up losing. That just isn't right. And the river is the king of clubs, so nothing will blow up in the universe as Stan's pocket fives are going to hold up against Trait's 4 deuce. So Stan, not a player you want to double up. He is very dangerous, very experienced, and very savvy. He's now got some chips to play with, so look out everybody else. It's that time again. Let's check in with HPT 500. HPT events take place every week across the country, offering players a chance to compete for cash and a sponsorship deal for as little as $75. Myron Gonzalez kept the lead over his counterparts this week at Red Hawk Casino in Northern California, but Ainu Carew and company are right on his heels. Consistency has been the key for Barbara Miller in Wisconsin. She is still the front runner at Lake of the Torches Resort Casino heading into this week's event. At Belterra, Jeff Armstrong continues to set the pace, although Steve Granger covered a lot of ground in recent weeks with back-to-back wins there. In Colorado, Don Burke took down the first monthly event at Wildwood Casino last weekend, but it wasn't enough to knock Don Crenshaw out of the top spot. The players at the top of the leaderboard at the end of the season will compete in front of our cameras. Stay tuned right here for updates each week, or take your shot at Poker Glory by visiting hpt500.com and find a location near you. Thanks for coming back to the HPT from the heart of California's Central Valley. We're at the Club One Casino in Fresno. With Maria Ho, I'm Fred Bevel. Let's get right back to this final table.
As you could see, still a pretty big disparity between the chip counts. The top 3 is very comfortable. The bottom 3 is not very comfortable. Trit's kind of in the middle with his 33 big blind stack. Sue Kim is our newest short stack with 10 big blinds.
The next person eliminated from this final table going home with just under $12,000. No one wants to be that next person. Blinds are 12 and 24,000 with a 3,000 chip ante. We're at the point now where every elimination is worth a few $1,000s. Everybody trying to get to that top spot of just about $75,000. Action folded around to Jed Hoffman. Poor guy. Now it's 7 deuce.
William looks down at 10-9 suited, and blind versus blind, Sue's got 10 big blinds. He's effectively putting Sue all in. This is a very standard play, and Sue's going to call it off with 3s.
Sue wakes up with a pair and figures that's good enough, and I think she's right. She just needs to fade the suited connectors here. And she will double up to over $500,000 in chips and find herself right back in the thick of things. Team Tsunami on the rail.
The flop is a 7-3 jack, 2 hearts. Interesting flop. Sue's flop bottom set. William's got a gut shot straight draw and backdoor flush out.
A set of 3.
It's not quite over.
1 spade comes on the board.
Put a 9 and 10.
Right now, the set of 3s is in the lead. Let's go ahead and
Sue's hoping the board will pair. It'll just end things right away on the turn. The turn is the 5 of diamonds, so she's still looking to fade an 8.
An 8 and only an 8 will end Sue's final table today. You can see in the background Team Tsunami ready to explode if this river's a blank.
River is a blank, the 4 of diamonds, and Sue is going to double up to a much healthier 22 big blind stack.
And just like that, that's how this game goes, Maria. One hand, you're right back in it.
you guys have another typo? Put that one up.
Blinds remain 12 and 24,000. Stan Jablonski looks first to go. He's going to fold, as well as Daniel, Joe, and now Jed Hoffman. Here we go, Jed. Pocket Kings. Jed has a pretty good, healthy stack right in front of him there, so another endorsement for tight play. Now, he has been so quiet at this final table, Maria. I got to think any bet coming out of Jed's stack is going to alarm everyone.
And that's why you don't want to have such a tight image if you're not really going to use it to open up your raising range, because now you raise and most people are going to be afraid to put it in, but not Trit. Trit's just going to shove in his stack with ace-8 offsuit. He's got 20 big blinds now. Why would you do that against the tightest player at the table who hasn't opened a pot yet? I mean, 20 big blinds is so much to risk with such a mediocre hand against a very tight opening range. I mean, I think Trit's just misstepped this entire final table.
The flop is Jack, Queen, 5 with a couple of clubs, so no improvement for Trait. Jed's King still way ahead as this pot just under $1 million in chips.
The turn is the 3 of spades. He's looking for the ace and only the ace on the river, or else he's going to go home in a very disappointing 7th place, considering he was a chip leader at one time.
The river is the 4 of spades, and that is going to do it for Tret Nguyen. He finished last time in 2nd place, this time a disappointing 7th place, but a great Band-Aid for a 7th place finish. How about just under $12,000, Tret? Congratulations to you, and we'll see you again at an HPT event for sure. So now we are 7-handed as blinds go up to 15 and 30,000 with a 4,000 chip ante. The rail here at the Club One Casino, very energetic, very into this poker game. Jed is going to fold. William's going to fold. We're now over to Sue Kim. Her end of the table's gotten pretty spacious. Sue's got a lot of room to spread out now. She folds. We're now over to Stan Jablonski on the button, and he's going to go all in with ace-4.
6-handed marks the start of short-handed play. I'm expecting these players to open up their game a little bit more. Stan's going to move in his 15 big blinds on the button with ace-4 offsuit. And, you know, I don't expect anything less from Joe to call it off here with ace-9. He believes that that's a good hand against Stan's all-in range.
So now it is Stan Jablonski hoping to get lucky. Both players have the ace. Stan is the underdog with his 4 kicker.
The flop is ace-queen 6, 2 hearts. So Joe is still in the lead, his 9 kicker still playing. There's definitely a small possibility that they could chop this pot, or if Stan got running hearts, his 4 of hearts would be best.
And the turn is the 9 of diamonds, and that's going to do it for Stan. He cannot win this hand. He can only chop if a queen comes on the river. So Stan now hoping for a queen to chop and stay alive. Otherwise, he is going to be out in 6th place. And that is where he will go as the 10 of spades falls on the river. So 4 final tables, 11 cashes. Very impressive for Stan Jablonski. Stan will be going to the cage to collect just a little over $14,000. More poker from the Club One Casino when we come back. Thanks for coming back to the HPT with Maria Ho. I'm Fred Bevel, and we are in the middle of a dogfight. Let's get right back to this final table.
And Jed Tight is right. Hoffman is our chip leader with 1.8 million. Tight race at the top. Joe and Sue have 31 big blinds and 21 big blinds respectively. It's definitely enough of a stack to maneuver with, but they're still going to need to catch some cards.
Blinds continuing at 15 and 30,000 with a 4,000 chip ante is Joe Wynn will look down at Jack 7 offsuit under the gun. He's going to fold. Now over to Jed. And now to William Chow after Jed folds. William, probably the most aggressive player left at this table. He's going to raise it with ace-8 suited.
Joe doesn't really have the stack that he could get very aggressive with, so I think William is going to try to take over that spot.
Sue Kim is going to move all in with an off-suited ace after William's raise.
And, you know, 20 big blinds is a lot to move in against the button raise, but they are five-handed. I think if William is fairly active, I think that's an okay play to make. Unfortunately, William has her dominated. It's just about whether or not he's going to make this call here, and he does.
He does make the call, so Sue Kim's tournament life at risk, and she is going to the flop heavily dominated. Just under 1.3 million in this pot as Team Tsunami stands on their feet and gets the signs ready, hoping that's enough mojo for her to find a 6 on the board, her only live card.
She doesn't see a 6. She's going to hope for a chop here.
Here comes the flop.
Flop is Jack 3-7 rainbow, so William's still ahead with ace-8. Sue still needs a 6 in order to double up.
Here comes the all-important turn card.
The turn is the ace of spades, so Sue is still behind. William's 8 is going to play. She could chop with a 7 or a 3 or outright win if she rivers that 6.
Sue hoping to stay alive at this final table. William wanting to get us four-handed. Onto the river we go.
This is a huge pot, and William hates to see that 6 roll off on the river. Sue is going to double up here to over 1.2 million.
And Team Tsunami almost coming over the back rail wall to give Sue some high fives and pats on the backs. Just under 1.3 million in chips now going to Sue's stack. She is right back in this one. So exciting river cards here at the Club One Casino as Sue Kim stays alive. Blinds are 15 and 30,000 with a 4,000 chip ante.
He said, long live HBT at Club One.
Joe Wynn looks down at suited connectors, 8-9 of diamonds.
And I think the good thing about being in Joe's position is that even though he has about 30 big blinds, he knows Jed is fairly tight and Jed is to his immediate left. So I think Joe imagines that a lot of his opens are going to get through Jed, which is always a good thing.
The flop is 3-7-4 with 2 diamonds. So Joe has now flopped a flush draw. Daniel with just ace high. Both players are going to check.
I'm not really quite sure why Joe never continues with his semi-bluffs. We saw that he did the same thing of checking back when he flopped the open-ended straight draw with King 10 earlier. And, you know, he's always going for that delayed C-bet on a semi-bluff, and I don't really know if I love that. I think when you do have a semi-bluff, you should always just be betting right away.
Daniel checks over to Joe. Joe bets 106,000, and Daniel quickly makes the call.
And I think Daniel's just playing this kind of cautiously because, you know, a 6 would make for a bigger straight here.
The river is the 3 of hearts, and Daniel is going to check his straight. I'm not sure if he's a little nervous, Maria, or if he's inducing another bluff from Joe.
I think Daniel's definitely trying to bluff catch with his hand, although it is a wheel. But, you know, Joe's going to go for it again, and I just think when you don't make a C-bet here, it's really hard for you to rep this board. And Daniel has a straight, so he's obviously going to call.
Joe bets 150,000. And Daniel does make the call. He's going to table the best hand. And that's the second time that I can remember we've seen Joe get caught bluffing here.
You know when you call, but you don't put any chips in like Daniel, you're pretty sure you have the best hand.
We have had an amazing week here at the Club One Casino. I feel like I'm part of the family. I really do. Now, Maria, these players gave us a lot of action in this first hour. What is your take on the play today?
I think what's so fun about watching this final table is because a lot of these players are locals, they're familiar with each other's game, so we've seen a lot of how those dynamics have played out, and I think there's just a lot more of that to come.
Indeed, and it's going to be fun to watch. Join us next time on the HPT to see who our newest HPT champion will be. Now, do you think you have what it takes to sit under the bright lights and play for unreal money at an HPT final table? Well, log on to hptpoker.com and find an event near you. For the talented Maria Ho and James Larson, I'm Fred Bevel. We'll see you next time right here on the HPT.
John Sasha, past HPT champion. HPT, thanks for everything and happy 10th anniversary.
Hi HPT, congratulations with 10 years of what you guys do. I've only been with you for 4 years, but I've had 10 years of fun, that's for sure. Good luck on the next 10.
This is Dan O'Brien from Long Island, New York, wishing a happy 10th anniversary to the HPT.
Alan Kessler, the Chainsaw here from Las Vegas, wishing the Heartland Poker Tour a happy 10th anniversary.